Warning, you are about to enter the BGP suite. No thongs, no boy shorts, no thigh highs, no commandos are permissible. BGP, big girl panties only. So pull up to woman up. And no, please don't leave with your panties in a bunch.
Two, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years she was dropping them draws. Welcome to BGP, aka Big Girls Panties, and today we are going to be discussing Mrs. Da'naia Jackson. For those of you who may not know who Da'naia Jackson is, she is the current, I said current, wife of a famous YouTuber by the name of Derrick, let me put the tip in it all the way, raw Jackson. At a certain point in his YouTube career, he had between his YouTube channel and his pages 4 million subscribers and followers. If you go to his channel, he has over 131 billion views. Another YouTuber by the name of Tasha K exposed him for having extramarital affairs because nobody knew that he was married. So all hell broke loose. His first attempt of an apology went sour. They went in on him. So he thought that he would make a second attempt of what he called an apology by bringing his wife, the wife nobody knew of, and the men and the women kind of forgot about the cheating allegations and went in on her. She appeared on screen natural. Natural hair, natural face. She had on a beret everybody thought was a shower cap, and they went in on her. They said that they were renewing their faith in God. Y'all know I don't like people that play with God. And so you saw them in a couple of videos at church and, a couple of photos where they were at church, and Jackson got silent for a little while. Naya went on a I'm on fire for the Lord rant on her Instagram page. And so we didn't hear about them for a while. We didn't know if anything was going right, but we didn't know if anything was going wrong. Up until late last year when Derrick went on to his Instagram page and announced that they were getting a divorce. Fast forward to last week, and Da'naia Jackson decided that she was going to tell her story. And she did that on YouTube in a 2-part interview on the Dear Future Wifey channel. She talked about rejection. She talked about SA. She talked about how, where she was from, how they met, cheating, abortion. So we're going to unpack all the luggage that she could not unpack. Let's start with you, Adrian. How did you feel when you first saw the interview?
The most recent one or the one initially when he came out?
The one that Da'naia did.
Here with the minister. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway. I was happy that she was trying to be transparent. I think her story is relatable. I felt like she was trying her best to be honest, but there was something about the authenticity of it that just didn't, like, what was your purpose for doing it? You know what I mean? It's, I think in this day and age, there's a lot of stories that women can relate to that can be helpful. And then there's a lot of people that are out there just putting content out to get likes, to get money, to get views, to get things like that. So I was up in the air. I could go a couple of ways with it.
Nisha Williams?
Hmm. See, it's tough because well, you know what you saying for the first part, right? Part one.
Yeah, your initial thoughts of the both parts.
Yeah. So initially, I was like, okay, because prior to this interview, you know, I really felt like, she's been through a lot. Derrick is just, he's just cheating. He can't be faithful in the marriage. I felt sorry for her because she looked like she was having a nervous breakdown on Instagrams and all that stuff. But then after watching the interview, I'm like, I started to not really feel so sorry for her, based on how she started to share her story, from the beginning to the end. So her expressing her truth, made me look at her a little different. That's my first initial thoughts when I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, my initial thoughts were, what in the Lifetime movie is going on around here? Because this is not a new story. It's a new story for a lot of people, but when the initial scandal broke loose, Nisha and I immediately went to her Instagram page because when things come out, people start deleting stuff and removing pictures and taking down stuff. And we went through her page with a fine tooth comb, and what we discovered was very, very alarming. It was very disturbing, and we was like, "Oh my God, she's going through it."
Right.
And
And this is back in 2021.
The initial,
The
right?
initial when Tasha first broke, the story about Derrick Jackson cheating with a few women that she was having on the show. Yeah, I was just like, oh, she's having a breakdown. Like, why everybody's laughing at how she's dressed? I'm like, no, this is sad. She needs to see a therapist. Like, she needs to talk to somebody because this is not good. So that was my initial thought. Like, yeah, yeah.
so we're going to try to stay as close to the interview as possible. We might, go to the left or go to the right a little bit. Let's start with rejection. The interviewer asked her, had she experienced any childhood trauma? And she said yes. Her father had rejected her. He had abandoned her. He didn't keep the promises that he made to her. Sometimes when she would go to his house, she felt that the arguments that he and his wife were having, her stepmom, had something to do with her being there. And oftentimes she had to go to her grandmother's house. She said she was trying to get the affections of her father, trying to be like her little brothers. And it wasn't working. So what do you think about that?
I think kids that experience stuff like that do become very obsessively clingy. And, you overlook bad behaviors and you dismiss things that you would normally not dismiss had you come from a healthy environment. And definitely you could see that in her right away. Like she was, when she even shared that with the most recent interview, she shared that, that she was okay with, I mean, she knew some of the stuff that was going on. Knowing good and well that that's not something she would normally probably allow or accept. But because of that trauma that she probably had where she was having those abandonment issues, she just clung to him. And regardless of his poor behavior, she stayed with him. And I think that's very common with women that experience abandonment issues.
No, she was talking about her father.
I know, but from her
You're saying stayed with her father?
no, stayed with him, stayed with.
No, I'm talking about her father, how she felt about being abandoned from her father, not Derrick.
Oh, okay. Well, I think it all kind of goes hand in hand. Abandonment is abandonment. When you get into a relationship, you're going to find that any relationship you have stems from what you allow in those relationships, stems from that abandonment that you experience, whether it's from your father or your spouse or your boyfriend or when you're out there in that dating scene.
Okay.
I think that, when she spoke on that, it took me back to a previous episode that we spoke on about rejection. And when you rejected in your childhood, and you haven't really dealt with that, I can see how that transitions as you continue to get older because you start to look for what you never got, right? And so when she spoke on not really having the closure with her dad because he died at an early age, and how he basically, when he would go get her, he would literally go drop her off at her grandmother's house because the wife didn't really feel comfortable with her at the house. And so when she was like ready to like kind of confront him about it, he passed. And I think part of that trickled down to her, how she moved in life, stemming from that. That's what I was thinking.
I got a different kind of story. She was young back then. Her father passed when
She was
12.
12.
She said that her mother was 16 and her father was 18 when they had Da'naia. And that's the problem with babies raising babies. They have no morals, no values, no boundaries, no principles, no conviction, no experience. This is a first-time mother with a new baby. She doesn't know how to handle a baby. And I think she said that after that, soon after that, they weren't even together. And she said that the stepmother was jealous of her mother. And I don't really believe that. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but I know me as a single mother. When my son went back and forth from his dad's house to my house, there was a readjustment period every time. You know, what happens at mom's house doesn't necessarily happen at dad's house. So he would call me sometime and be like, Pops is doing this. And I would have to tell him, hey, you're at his house, you have to do what he says. So Da'naia coming from a single parent household, and then her father got married. Her father had children. Her father had little boys. And going from the single parent household to the environment where it's a well-rounded, structured environment, I don't think her stepmother was jealous of her mother. I think maybe Da'naia was jealous of the environment.
Could be.
You know what I'm saying? Going over there, they have a
it's more-
schedule.
yeah, they have a routine.
They're doing things. You know, him and the little boys had bonded together, and I think she was kind of jealous of that, and she might have been acting out. For example, maybe they were going to football practice because she said they were in sports, and she wanted to play football, and they were like, "No, you're a girl." You know, and then she might have had some tantrums. Stay here with stepmom, and maybe she didn't want to stay there with stepmom. Maybe she didn't want to bond with the mother. Maybe you know, she wanted to bond with the daddy only, and that probably did cause some confusion in the household. And I think once she didn't abide by those rules in that house, she started acting out, pouting. She's a little girl. She wants her way, and when they couldn't stop her from disrupting the family, that's when she possibly had to go see the grandmother. It might have been his weekend to have her, and he had to have her, but he couldn't control her, and so he sent her to grandma. And another thing is, men treat little girls differently than they treat little boys. I've heard oftentimes that men say they don't know how to treat little girls. They don't want to change their diapers when they're little. They don't want to bathe them. They don't know if they should kiss them on the lips, because babies kiss all over the place. They don't know if they should have little girls sitting on their lap. So they treat little girls like little girls. And I think if they were mature enough, that when Da'naia started telling her mother the things that would happen at the house, because let's keep it real, when we send our babies to the daddy house, when they come back, we want the report.
Yes.
We want to know what happened and all that. And once she started, you know, voicing her grievances, her mother didn't have enough wherewithal to say, well, this is would have happened. She just kind of like became the child in a sense and believed everything the little girl said, instead of getting with the father and not letting it play out, you know, so long, nipping those problems in the bud. So I want to read what Da'naia Jackson said on her Instagram post about her father. She still has this stuff up there. It's about 160 weeks. If you go back, you'll see where she started to break down. She started off with a picture where she said she was broken. Then she did a 3-part confession, and I'm going to read what she said about her father. I killed my dad. At 12 years old, my dad came to my house and asked me to tell him how I feel. He'd been hearing how I felt from my mother, but believed that she was just making things up. Early July 2002, he learned the truth. I was pissed. Every time he would say he was coming to pick me up, but never showed up. I was hurt. It seemed like he loved my brothers and sisters more than me. I was hurt. My trips to his home were sometimes cut short, and I had to go to my grandma Brada's house to have time with him. I was hurt that my brothers and sisters, whom are all younger than me, she's the oldest child, said at one point, "That's why you're not my sister." Let's stop there. So, you know, when kids get into little altercations, they go back and forth, they get to arguing and everything. She must have said something, and then they said, "That's why you're not my sister." And that's very hurtful. And that should have been unpacked. You know, I don't know if it was in the presence of adults, but that should have been unpacked, and maybe it wasn't. So then she goes on to say, which meant to me in his house, that was what the belief was when I was there. So basically she's saying that she felt like an addition. She felt like an outsider. And to a certain degree she was. That was his daughter, but he had a whole family.
Right.
You know, and that's the risk that women take when they have children out of wedlock. You know, women think that you be saying, you know, don't have kids out of wedlock, don't have kids out of wedlock. You should marry before you carry, like we're hating on them or something. But it's true. You need that support system from the man's side. And this is the things that happen that cause damage to the children. I said all of this to his face and with no fear, tears in my eyes, and true to what my 12-year-old self was experiencing. I remember the look on his face, crushed with tears in his eyes, and he said he loves me and would show me something different. I was still angry, so I didn't believe a word he said in the moment. After that conversation, I asked him to give me a ride to my Auntie Carmen's house. He was expecting a hug and a kiss. I was resistant, but kissed him on the cheek with no hug and got out of the car without saying goodbye. 2 weeks later, his best friend Larry was beating on my door in tears, revealing to my mother, Les is gone. He died. My mom was the only one who told me my dad is dead. My first words were, "No, he's not," and shaking my head. Devastation consumed me. I carried that guilt and responsibility of his death for 17 years. Had I not told him how I felt, he would have fought harder to stay alive. I have never since July 25th, 2002, spoken a word to anyone about my true feelings, good, bad, or ugly. And that has caused issues that has affected my current day life. Today, I am free of the burden of this story that has had a stronghold on me for so many years. I forgive my father, and I forgive myself. And with this, I am no longer in bondage to powers that want me to stay stagnant on the journey to fulfilling my purpose for the kingdom of God. That is very, very heartbreaking. I'm about to tear up reading it. Yeah. So then the interview asked her, did she have any other trauma?
Wait, before you get to the next trauma, let's stay right there on the dad for a second. Because remember when she was on his show, she mentioned, and as you pointed out, her mom was 16, dad was 18.
Right.
Not only that, dad was in a whole relationship with the woman that had an issue with Da'naia. So, yeah, we could tell women, marry before you carry, which makes sense as an adult. But her mom was a whole teenager, baby, when she had that baby with that man who was in a relationship with someone else. That's one. And two, when we go back to the abandonment issues and the rejection issues that I pointed out, she stated for years he denied her being his until they got a DNA test to prove that she was his. So when those kids are saying, that's why you're not my sister.
Yep.
That's why you're not my brother. That's because over there in that family, people was talking about that ain't your child. It could be the stepmom. It could be the dad out of frustration. It could be what they say in front of those kids. Whatever the case may be, they knew she was different. And for that, in that scenario right there, I think it's scandalous. I think it's wrong. I don't care if you guys are in a marriage. I don't care what that is. But you're not supposed to disrespect that child. So she had to deal with that growing up, that she came from a mom who was a baby. She came from a dad who possibly was already in another relationship, possibly marriage with another woman, who with kids with that other woman while sleeping with this baby. And then she had to deal with, okay, by the time they prove that she is his, she has that, the rejection, the disappointment, the, dad not really being there. And if he do show up, he drops me off at grandma. She had all that animosity towards him and those other kids that she had to deal with. So we can't like just skip by that and just be like,
That's a
okay,
huge
this is
part.
why you don't carry before, this is why you don't carry before you marry. Like, yes, I agree. You should definitely marry before you carry. But we can't like ignore the fact that daddy was a whole grown ass adult when he had sex with this minor and she was created.
They weren't too far away.
Don't matter. He was an adult and in
he
a
was 18
relationship.
years old. 18 is not an adult. 18 is still a teenager.
18 is an adult where if something should happen, you're going to be tried as a adult.
Well, you can be tried as an adult at 16. I'm just saying that 16 to 18, they were in the same age range. He was dumb, too. He was young and
Very
dumb.
immature.
Both of them were immature.
Yeah.
I'm
ready
not
for
discounting the
parenting.
fact that didn't happen to her. I'm not discounting the fact that he didn't do what he was supposed to do, but he was a teenager.
Yeah.
He was just trying to hit something, and it turned into having a baby.
Yes.
Should he own up to his responsibilities? Absolutely. But I'm just saying the dynamics of that story and her mother not having the wisdom to talk to her, and whatever her mother was going through from being abandoned from a man that she slept with, looking like she was just a hit and quit or a one night stand. That kind of probably trickled down in their household over there. She might have not known how to bond with that daughter. Every time she looked at her, it might have reminded her of the man that got away.
Right.
But I'm just saying that the way that she said it on the interview to me and the way that I read it was two different things, and I just wanted to bring clarity to that. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
You also have to consider too that over the years, okay, now she was a child of a teen parent who clearly was not equipped to handle being a parent. We're just not. You know what I mean? We don't know how to do it. Usually in a situation like that, you have a mother who's going to help guide you and direct you into taking good care of this child. But something happened, something where she wasn't well cared for. There was abandonment issues. She had these issues that were going on where, you get in some situations like that where that grandparent, those grandparents, they have taken, in my case, taken over, you know what I mean? Because they know you are not ready. You don't know what you're doing. You can barely, take care of your regular hygiene and simple issues, let alone take care of a child. And I think as the years go by, that's still back there, that part of not feeling like you were completely
Like you
loved
belong.
properly, like you belong,
Yeah.
like you don't have a place anywhere. So you're always looking for where you belong. So that's what I think. And it's not making any, we can speculate all we want as to how she came to those feelings, but I think that being a child of teenage parents have a lot to do with it. That's a part of your life that is where you're molded into learning how to be, and you got these little kid parents that don't know shit themselves, So
He also asked her about some more childhood trauma, and she said when she was 19 years old that she was SA, that she had went to a party with her brothers. Her ex was there. They were drinking, and for some strange reason, she decided to go down into the basement alone. A young man came down there. She said that he liked what he saw, and he took what he saw. She said she tried to scream out, but the music was so loud that they couldn't hear her upstairs. She said she returned upstairs, act like nothing happened, continued to party. She even spent the night. Your thoughts, Adrian?
SA, goes deep, and how you move in life going forward. I mean, it's just, that's something that's always there. If you're not getting the proper treatment or the proper help that you need, that is always in the back of your mind, and it affects you in so many different ways in your future relationships, whether it even just be a sexual thing, allowing people to do whatever because there was no respect there when that was taken from you. So that goes deep, and when you don't get the help and the treatment that you need for those kind of things, it's always there, and it'll surface in different areas of your life forever.
I agree. SA affects people differently. And some people seek help immediately. Some people don't. Some people like to pretend like it never happened. And we will resume our lives as if nothing, as if it never happened, and push it to the back of our mind until we're forced to deal with the trauma. And in her case, how she said she handled it, it's not surprising. It's actually sad, but yeah, I've heard stories like that before, and it was sad, but yeah.
Question. Could something like that had happened to you and you went upstairs and said nothing?
I don't know. Like I said, it affects, being SA, it affects victims differently. Some people could come right out and say something happened.
Yes.
Some people do. Like they just, they're brave like that. They can. And then there are some people that literally, we shrink and we say nothing. And we, until we're comfortable enough to speak on it, or another trigger comes about somewhere down that line that forces us to address it and speak on it at that time. This is why you see some SA victims speak on something that happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, because a lot of times you try to push that to the back of your mind as if it didn't happen.
And I think a lot of people that are victims of that become fearful of judgment. They're like, somebody's gonna say I had a reason for it to happen because of what I had on, or I had my cleavage out and my ass hanging out, and I had it coming. And so a lot of people are fearful of being judged or being said that it was their fault. I've talked to so many people that are survivors of that, and they keep it to themselves for that very reason. Or especially like if mama told you before, you shouldn't wear that. That don't look cute. That makes you look fast. And something happens, and right away they're made to feel like, okay, I had something to do with that. When no means no. I don't care if it's to the point where somebody's putting it in there. You have the right to say no, and your body is your body.
For me, I couldn't have not went upstairs and not said anything. As soon as I got loose, I would have been cussing. I might have been running to the kitchen to find a weapon, but I would have absolutely told. And I just want to encourage young women, because this has to stop. When anybody violates you, you tell. Don't worry about what somebody's going to say about it, how they're going to perceive you. Talk about what you wore, what kind of makeup you had on. Tell it. Because what you're doing is you're telling that person that they have the right to do whatever they want to do with you, and that they're better than you, and that their lives are more important than you, that their futures are more important than yours. Tell that shit, talk that shit, tell everybody, scream it up at the top of your lungs. I don't care what anybody thinks, because it's your life, and you have to live that life. And if you keep that in,
He's going to do it to somebody.
It's going to damage you. That person is going to continue to have that power. I think he has the power to do that to some other lady. And when you don't tell, you're really assisting him in his little devious act.
Absolutely.
What I found strange about the situation, I'm sorry, you can go next. And we're going to talk about it later on. She named the dude that she was trying to make Derrick feel jealous with. She named him, but she did not name her attacker. Denver, Colorado has a 20-year statute. She can still go back and get that dude. And I would encourage her, for her healing, for her therapy to go press charges against that nigga.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, she could. She could.
If you're gonna have a breakthrough, if you're gonna have a healing, we have to learn to show people how to treat us, and that you will not treat me this way, and that you will not get away with this. I think that would help her further along in her healing process.
Yeah.
But we got to get people that feel comfortable in saying it. You know what I mean? It's so many times that people want to tell, that people want to say something, or even if like rape victims, they wait too long to go to get the rape kit because they've waited all that time. Oh my God, is somebody going to say this? Is somebody going to say that? We have to not be so judgmental. We have to be where we encourage people, go do this. You know what I mean? So they feel like it's a safe place to make those type of reports. It's the most underreported crime in the world is sexual assault. So,
And I think when you have a great team behind you that pushes you and be like, I got you.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I'm
right.
going to go with you through the ups and the downs,
let's
through
go
whatever.
together.
Anybody say something about you, I'm whooping their ass.
Exactly.
Whatever you got to do to make your friend, your loved one, your daughter, your sister, your cousin, go out there and report that. It has to be reported. It has to be stopped. Let's go to a lighter note. So then he asked her how they met.
3 weeks later
3 weeks later.
from that trauma.
From that trauma.
Yeah.
So she said she was at college. She was a little nerdy girl over there in the corner. Acne, a little overweight, hair all disheveled. And here comes Derrick Jackson. And she had a little notebook that had a collage of her picture. So his opening line was, oh, so you model? And she said, yes. The next thing that came out of his mouth was, will you tutor me? And she said she looked at him. He was fine to her. Because, well, we have to understand that the chiseled Derrick Jackson that we see today was not the Derrick Jackson that she met back there in college.
Right.
Matter of fact, he was a big boy.
Oh.
And he had breasts. He needed a bra. I ain't trying to be funny, but it's the truth. And you can see it, because you can see it today. He's still a little breasty. But to her, in her eyes, the little nerd, the little 4.0 grade point average girl that nobody was really checking for, here comes the football player. You know, and the boys that are in sports are the most popular boys on the campus. And she was like, sure, absolutely. And she began to tutor her, and the interviewer asked her, and when did he start tutoring you? And she said that was a good question. Wow. She, basically, from what I gathered, he taught her everything she knew. And she said he had his shirt off, and he had a big heart, and he asked her to be his Valentine. And she she said, absolutely. And then she said 1 month later that he asked her to be his girlfriend. And, of course, she said yes. And what do y'all think about that?
Wow. And this was 3 weeks after when she met him. Well, I think, like you said, here she is, this girl that's not so overly attractive and maybe had some insecurities about how she looked. And then, of course, she just had this incident that occurred to her. So here's this boy that's giving her some attention. I can see how you could get pulled into that. I definitely can see that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I could see how she felt into that trap, per se. And I'm not calling him a trap, but I could see it could have been any guy, for that matter.
Yeah.
As long as he was giving her the attention, and he was in her eyes fine, and he's the man on campus, right? Because he's popular, he's a football player, and he's talking to her. So yeah, I could see how she was like
smitten.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said that, they fell in love after 3 days, and she was they were talking about, where have you been all my life, and let's get married and have babies. And the interviewer said, did he say that he wanted to get married and have babies? And she said no. So right then and there, you know that like you guys said, that was an attention, that was a self-esteem boost for her coming off of that.
Right.
And she just started fantasizing, which is what a lot of women do, you know, after they get the number and a few phone calls, and it just feels like this is so right, and you know, let's do it, let's get married, let's have these babies, and she wasn't ready. The one thing that the interview didn't do, because she said shortly after that he started cheating. I would want to know how long after they began being boyfriends and girlfriends did the cheating actually happen. Did it happen 2 months later, 2 years later? And she said that she never said anything to him about being SA'd until 5 years later. And in between that time, he was cheating. So I'm imagining that I had this trauma with my dad. I had this trauma with the SA. And now the man of my desires is cheating on me, and trying to hold that in and trying to stay in a relationship all at the same time was very, very difficult for her. Yeah. She said that she didn't even tell him about the situation of her SA until 5 years later, and because she knew he was cheating, but he didn't know that she knew. Right. So when she brought it up, she said they just briefly talked about it. So my question is, how do we think that a man processes that when he hears that his girl that he's been with was, you know, SA?
Violated, yeah. I would think that somebody that really, really cares about you is going to want to constantly reassure you that, hey, that was not your fault. I'm here for you. I love you. And then on the other hand, you're talking about a young person. Maybe he was thinking he was her first. And maybe, you know what I'm saying? And now you are this tainted, touched individual. So I'm going to treat you different now. Now you ain't this pure little nerdy chick that I thought you were. You done been violated and touched in ways that I don't particularly, and then maybe he lost some respect. Yes.
Funny because I remember when I was don't ever tell a man that. Don't tell him. Because he's going to look at you differently. He's not going to tell your friends, tell your therapist, tell your pastor. Like,
yes.
Why can't you, you know? The men were like, yeah, that's agreeing. And the women, of course.
I'm just trying to get in.
Okay.
Oh, no, because they're saying, no, look, they're saying they can't hear.
Oh,
okay.
We can't hear y'all.
Thank you, Will.
Hello.
Thank you. Can you guys hear us now? Say yes or no.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna get.
Stand by, everybody.
Hold on, you guys. Oh, they can hear us.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James. They can hear us, LaRon.
Can somebody tell us where we left off at?
I know. It was about the Judge. I mean the
Yeah, they giving thumbs up. They can hear us.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool.
Thank you. So, and they said start over. No, what I was saying was that I was on a panel a couple of years ago, and the panel basically consisted of men give women advice on things you don't ever tell a man. If you ever been touched, if you ever been molested, if you ever been assaulted, don't tell a man that you're interested in getting to know, because he's going to look at you different. He's not going to want to deal with you. He's going to think that, that's disgusting. And so, me and some of the other women were given pushback, like, why can't we speak our truth? Why can't we tell you that this happened at some point? No man wants to hear that. They would be open to that and saying, I'm sorry that happened to you. How can I reassure you that I'm not like that person that did it? But someone who's never experienced that, they're going to be turned off and not want to deal with that. So that's all I'm saying. I hope you guys heard me now.
Yeah.
And
then
Ava.
I had said that that's just another way of victims feeling like some kind of way that's their fault. You know what I mean? And further makes you not want to share or give that, to report or to say anything about it, because now here's the person I'm even loving and caring about is telling me, ugh, like,
Right.
I don't want to hear that. Like, you're a dirty and nasty person now. So yeah, that's kind of messed up.
Right.
It is very messed up. I think that you should tell it to people that are your loved ones. I don't think that, during the Me Too era, when every woman was voicing their opinion and they were saying Me Too, I kind of got it. But then, like Nisha was saying, and I'm not a man. I'm not a man. I'm a woman. and I was just thinking that that's going to open up a door for men that are manipulative.
Absolutely.
To be able to manipulate you, or to have something to hold over your head later on when they get mad, or they want to be with you, or they want to marry you, that they
Yes.
can use that against you. So that was kind of hard. I didn't really like the women that did that. I thought more, tell it to your loved ones, tell it to your friends. Don't put all your business out on social media. I can understand that men say don't tell us, because what we have to remember is that men are territorial. They don't even want to think that another man has been down there. You're 50 years old and they still want to believe that, you're a virgin. Men don't like to know that another man has touched their woman or did something sexual to their woman. So I can understand where they were coming from. But too, like Nisha said, because I asked a gentleman on my job about this situation, and I said, and I gave him the scenario: what if you would have worked with a woman for 5 years? You was a cheating ass. Y'all was going back and forth because at some point in time she said they were in a situationship because of the cheating, and you didn't know that I knew you were cheating, and then all of a sudden I just blurted out, I've been SA'd before. Because I don't think that had anything to do with the current situation that she was in. She was just trying to use anything she could to get this man to just choose her and only her. And I asked him, I said, what would you do? He said, first of all, I would gasp. He said, I would think that was a terrible thing. He said, but then afterwards, I would think that I had been deceived. I said, would you still be with her? And he said, had she told me in the beginning? Yes. But because she didn't tell me for 5 years, and if she knew I was cheating for 5 years, there's something in her demeanor, something in her character, something in the way that she treats me that I know that she, wasn't treating me correctly. And he said he think he'd have to kick her to the curb.
Wow.
So that's where I want to start. Do you think that you could have seen pictures and live videos of your man
Being intimate with someone
being
else?
intimate with somebody else?
No.
And kept it to yourself?
No. But I'm going to take it back just one sec and then bring it back. So go back to that trauma that took place 3 weeks before she met Derrick.
Yeah.
Remember, she said she went to that party that she was advised not to go to, but went anyway because she knew her ex would be there. Remember that?
Right.
Fast forward to like the Derrick situation on that podcast with Latera or Dear Wifey. Her and Derrick were off on. They were never mutually exclusive, right? And so it sounds like to me the reason why she's doing all that is because they weren't together. And so she kind of has this thing of, well, what do they have that I don't? What are they doing that I'm not? Why is he choosing them as opposed to me? And so she, like she said, I would watch how they move. I would watch how they dress. I would style my hair like theirs.
Yeah.
I would start to try to become them so that he could choose me. So clearly he was making it obvious he wasn't really choosing her. She was just a
Piece.
body,
Yeah,
you know?
basically.
But she
One of
still
many.
was hell bent on somebody gonna choose me, and it's gonna be this man. And so I look at that, like I take that into consideration.
But see, the only reason why I'm saying how long did it take, because she said he asked her, I'm going on her story.
Yeah.
To be his girlfriend. So then she thought she was in a monogamous relationship. So there's a difference when you're in a monogamous relationship and you thinking, I think this nigga cheating on me. Versus you knowing
That he's cheating.
you have the evidence. How do you conduct yourself? First as a woman, then as his woman. Can you keep that in?
No.
Can you drop it like it's
Hell
hot?
No.
Can you smile in his face?
No.
We're not even, because now you're a part of the poly club.
Yeah.
And she was part of the crew. Like, she said it. So, and part of that, even though she said that he asked her to be in a relationship, she also said they broke up and they was off and on.
Right.
So when all this was going down, where she's watching videos and seeing him be intimate and all that, a lot of times they weren't together. They weren't even together. In her head,
yes,
they was
exactly.
together.
That was her man.
Yes.
Yeah, in
But
her
she-
head, they was together. But in the reality, they were not together. That's why he was. He didn't
what he
want
wanted
to.
to
Yeah,
do.
with whomever he wanted to do.
Yeah,
and
no
if she
respect.
came around, it was like okay, but he didn't want to be in a relationship.
I think at one point in time they were in a monogamous relationship, and because she had all this baggage that she didn't unpack, and that he was doing some things and she never spoke on it, that she broke up with him, and she lost her spot.
Yeah,
And
She
then
got pushed to the bottom.
she where she used to be the one, she was one of many.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every time she saw him, she was snooping.
stalking.
She was snooping. She was a stalker.
Yeah.
And she going through his phone. I want to talk about the phone because, okay, let's answer the question. Okay, I could not have been with a man that I went in his phone and I opened up a video and once I identified the body parts, I would have shut it down. I could not watch that. I don't watch porn. I think I watched, I think one night me and my ex was at my one of my friends' houses, and her husband, I guess he thought porn was the thing to do when you have, couples come over. So he was like, hey, check this out, and
wow.
he put in the VHS tape, and when it came on, everybody was like, oh my God, right? and my friend was embarrassed, and she pulled the tape out and threw it out the window, and then I think the only other time I watched porn was when Snoop came out with his first little thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I want to see if it had a storyline in there. I was like, I ain't
Not
gotta
a
watch
storyline.
that. Yeah. So I couldn't imagine me seeing it. Not one time, not two times, but over and over.
That begins
again.
to seem sick.
Yeah.
That's
really
sick.
sick.
Yeah.
That's like you got a little addiction here.
Thank you.
That
You
to
need
the
to
point
address.
where it didn't shock you. You were intrigued. You were watching it. You were trying to emulate it. We would have been broken up. And I want to talk about the phone because we know men keep their phones on lock.
Okay, or turned over like this. Yeah.
So, how was she getting to his phone?
Hacking.
What was she?
Y'all be hacking?
I
No.
don't.
No, I'm just saying in general. They be hacking.
But there are some people that literally figure out codes and and how to get in there. And during this time, probably at that time,
Did you
I
talk
don't
a
even
few
think
years
passcodes
back?
was set up yet.
Nope.
But you can turn your phone off
You could.
But why would he turn his phone off
'Cause,
when
yeah,
he gonna miss
he know
his?
that
But see, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Did he leave his phone on intentionally in a way to make her get the hell on? Because she was a
No.
stalker. Or did she just
I don't
find
think
the
he-
phone?
I don't think he
I don't
cared.
think he cared.
He was
That's what I'm
being
saying.
so
Yeah.
blunt with
he
it.
didn't care, so he just...
He just left his phone.
He
like
knew what he could
went
get
thinking-
away with her by
Yeah,
now. You
yeah.
watching me fuck other people?
Yeah.
Come on now.
But he
Yeah.
didn't know.
He didn't know.
He didn't know.
He didn't know he didn't know that she had went through his phone and saw all that.
Numerous times she was going through it.
So he
Bless
filming
her heart. She-
himself, enjoying himself with somebody.
And she
then when
watching
she
it.
come for her turn, and he probably slip out for whatever, shower, whatever he do, she go right in that little phone and be like, let me see who he with now. Let me see
And
what
then
they
turn
doing.
around and do the same
And
thing.
then try to do the same thing. Because she trying to be chosen. Like, no, I don't think he purposely was doing it for her to find it. I just don't. I
didn't
think
care.
I think he thought, and probably he trusted her enough that he never thought she would go through his phone.
See, Da'naia was young. She was naive.
Foolish. Yes.
Yeah,
She was inexperienced.
yeah.
Like Adrian said, he might have busted that cherry because she said she only had one other boyfriend. She came from Denver, Colorado. She went to an all-white school. We don't know if that first boyfriend was a different race or
Right.
that he hid it.
Right.
And she was sprung.
Yeah.
She was stigmatized. She was looking for that nigga in the daytime with a
Okay.
flashlight. He could do no wrong. And he was he was a jock. And in order for him to
Popular.
play on that team, he had to keep that grade point average up. So he needed her.
And she was a
User.
smart one. Remember, she said,
And she was the smart one.
"I'm a 4.0. I'm smart. I'm fine and smart." So he had the right one.
Yeah, he needed
you gonna
her.
be
He
the
knew what he was
brains.
doing.
They
don't
gonna
have
be
over
the bodies.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. And he needed her brain, and he was getting some brain.
Okay.
And she should have
Damn.
she should have stayed in the tutor's place.
Yes. Yes.
And she got caught up. And we gonna keep it funky. We gonna keep it 100. All women, when they get that first good penis,
Huh.
they lose raw.
Okay.
They lose their goddamn mind. And she was vulnerable.
Yeah.
She was vulnerable. She wanted that man. She had to have that man. She was
No
willing to
matter
do
what.
anything. And she was playing a very dangerous game because she was trying to act like a man and trying to act like she didn't have no fucking feelings. And she was suppressing that shit inside, and it was killing her. And she was diseased, and she said that she was bleeding from places that she didn't know about. You know, she was just getting sickly, trying to play like when a nigga show up, "Hey, boo, how you doing?" And give him a
you
hug.
are-
And because she was scared that he would leave because she didn't have that strong hold on. Remember, she was a tomboy. So me and Nisha was talking about it. She just kind of came into her femininity. So she wasn't that girl that had that
The
sex
girly
appeal.
girl. Yeah.
That was sensuous, you know. And
Right.
so she was watching these videos trying to get some tips and some
Yeah.
pointers.
Yep.
So I want to go back to her page and I want to read something that she said. "Before the public at large became a part of my life, I had low confidence, high insecurities, and was tormented 24/7 by the spirit of compassion and haunted by the sister spirit of obsession. Furthermore, childhood experiences created a root of bitterness, rejection, which led the spirits of can't give love and can't receive love. Demons plagued my life in these areas over 2 decades. Fast forward to becoming a wife of a sensational, electrifying, charming, first-class, creatively master orator, and superb genetic specimen of a man."
Wow.
That's how she felt about it.
Wow.
The combination of poor self-esteem from childhood experiences and adult experiences skyrocketed with fame. So I never handled the attention he received with ease of grace. I would get my face beat by the best makeup artist. And she said at one time, and she has a picture, she went to Cardi B's makeup artist and she beat her face to death and it still didn't work. He did not desire her like she saw the desire that he had in those other women. She said, "I visited women's pages that he liked, commented back to and had prior flings with and obsessed over how they did their hair, how they dressed, how they spoke, the interests that they had, and tried to mimic aspects of them to keep his attention. And the only thing I couldn't mimic to perfection is being the perfection of having dark, supple skin. So a lot of the women that he was cheating on her with was darker than her, and colorism came into play, and she was feeling some type of way about it. And the only thing I could mimic to perfection is being the perfection of having what? Fuck that. My bad. Secretly, I did these things, and publicly, I wore a mask. That's hard to do.
That's a hard way to live.
I can't do it. I grasped onto fake confidence using lyrics from songs and compared myself to every woman except the woman of God. After being oppressed by the demons of comparison, obsession, can't give love, can't receive love, rejection, bitterness for over 2 decades, deliverance came when I was educated on the fact that demons are actual and factual. I had them in me. I was invaded by some of them as early as 3 years old. And I want to stop right there. Do most of us remember when we were 3 years old and what we did or what we said? Or
I don't remember 3, but I remember 5.
Yeah.
I definitely remember
not 3.
things
So,
that I did at 5.
I'm trying to understand how she knows she was played at such an early age, and did her mother know? Did she have some other problems as a baby that people just overlooked or ignored that carried into the rejection of her father, that carried into the essay, that carried into, like Adrian said, when you've been done so wrong, you allow somebody else or other people to keep on doing you wrong over and over again. And that's what I was saying when we went back and went down her page, because Nisha was on her phone and I was on my phone, and we was like, oh wow, look at this. Oh wow, go to this picture. You know, it was very heartbreaking and heart-wrenching to see that the young girl had gone through so much, and she was being laughed at and she was being ridiculed, and nobody knew her real story because they were talking about her outer appearance, and they justified the way that she looked. Because they thought that this man, who they also thought was fine, because I don't think Derrick Jackson is fine. I never listened to any of his content until the scandal broke. The men were saying that he was pandering for panties.
Yeah.
The men were saying that he was giving the red flags and giving the things that he knew women would like to hear, and women weren't listening. You know, and they were correct. Listen, brothers, y'all was correct.
Right.
And just knowing that she was going through all that stuff was just like heart-wrenching. So she goes on to talk about God, and I'm not gonna read all that. And she was hanging on by a limb. You know, she was trying to do anything, I guess,
To be chosen.
To be chosen by this man, to be the apple of his eye, to be the one that he desired. She said that when she was watching the videos, and I can't find it, she said that she was actually looking at the bodily fluid secretion and noticed that she wasn't as wet as these women.
You mean off of the videos?
Yeah.
Off of the videos.
Yep.
So that's a little freaky.
That is a lot.
That's a little freaky, and that's a little nasty.
Yeah, that is some serious stalking.
So stay right there. I do think that's disgusting. However, I guess, again, she said she had the spirit of comparison. So she noticed when these women were with the man she wanted, they were really into the man she wanted. They were really enjoying the man she wanted.
True.
When she was with the man she wanted, she didn't operate like that. She wasn't excited with him when they were together.
She couldn't be because she
Trauma.
trauma.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm looking at it from that perspective because it is gross. Now, the other side of that grossness to me is if you can see all that, that also indicates that Mr. was not using protection. And you knew
That
Mr. was
part.
not using protection. And you still was giving your body to him as well, knowing that he's not using protection with these other women. That's gross. And that's something that, again, I would need to go sit on somebody's couch to figure out why I'm okay with all of this behavior. Because, again, we know Derrick ain't shit. We know that. But Derrick not shit by himself. She tolerated the behavior.
Gotta own your part.
Before they got married and after they got married. And let's be clear, that woman would not have left Derrick, even now, would not have left Derrick if Derrick wouldn't have filed for divorce. She would still be sitting there defending him, cursing people in scriptures, and and giving this facade
And PH
that her
Bowers
marriage is perfect.
That her marriage is being broken up by other women.
Hating on their relationship.
When in actuality, her marriage was being broken up by herself.
Yes.
The whole relationship before the marriage
Yeah.
was being broken by herself. Will Justice says some of us, no, not that one. Will Justice says there's a difference between book smart and people smart. Yeah, she was smart,
She was book smart.
but she wasn't man smart.
Yeah.
She didn't have no
Relationship
experiences.
smart.
She didn't have no good experiences with men, and she didn't have men in her life that wanted to see the best in her.
And clearly no friends that would kind of give you some like,
Girl, girl, when you digmatize,
Thank
come on,
you.
tell
You're
the
not
truth.
hearing it.
I hear you.
Because
I hear you.
I think she had friends that was trying to tell her. And I know she had a mother that was trying to warn her because she talked about it. And when her mother would tell her, she'd be like, that's my man.
But I mean,
That's my man. That's,
you know,
so if you doing that,
I can understand.
exactly.
I can understand.
she was book smart, she wasn't man smart, and you know that first love,
Oh,
that
yes,
first piece,
yes,
that first
You stuck
breakup,
on it.
you
Especially
are
if it's
devastated.
good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're devastated.
And you're going to keep trying to go back or find something
Fix
like
it.
it.
Like
You
a
wanna fix
crackhead,
it, yes.
And for
trying
her-
to go back to that first hit.
And for her, he
and
was
I think
her,
after a
he's
while,
a drug.
it starts to feel normal. Like maybe this is just how it's
There it
going to
is.
be. And you're okay with a piece of him. You know what I mean? Opposed to just losing him completely. I just get this little piece of him.
She was willing
It
to
might throw
share.
off my pH balance. I might end up with an STD.
I might have to have
whatever.
some abortions.
Thank you. But I'm going to still stick by
But I'm going to
this
stay with her.
raggedy.
And don't y'all say nothing. Because I'm going to get my Bible out and curse you.
that
Which
part.
back in the 9 years, she wasn't even in the church
Nope.
when she was doing that. And I want to speak about the STDs. I thought he failed in the interview when he did not ask her how many STDs she had, because I'm quite sure she had a few. And she said
Clearly.
that she had 3 abortions before she had that first child. So my question is this. Does a man love you if he can allow you to kill 3 of his babies? Did she tell him? But if she told him, and he said, I don't want it.
I think
For
she
the first
told him.
one.
I think she told him.
I don't want it for the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it for the... She's telling her. He's telling her, I don't want you. He's telling her, I don't see you as wife material, let alone being the mother of my children.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't hearing it. She wasn't having it. She wanted him at any cost.
And who's to say she just didn't have
The cost of not even having children.
Right,
She
right.
wanted that dude.
bad. That's
Because
some
one of
obsession
those
on her.
abortions could have had some serious complications
Right.
that may have scarred her, and she might have never been able to have children. So I want to say this. Men keep on telling us that they will tell us anything we want to hear so that they would meet their agenda. Men keep on saying that they are the gateway to relationships and marriage, and we are the gateways to sex. We have to close the gate.
Shut it down.
Derrick Jackson never changed.
He's
They're
been
trying to pin him as a goddamn demon and that he was doing her wrong. Sugar Free say players do what they want to, suckers do what they can. He was a player. She knew it. She kept coming back. They tell you that men don't associate sex really with cheating. And we keep on trying to think that we are the one that's going to change this cheater and change this player. We got to stop that shit. She was on that ride for 9 years. She was dropping them draws and dropping them draws and dropping them draws for 9 years.
And Sharon.
She said she was in a rotation.
I heard her. Ooh, that part I definitely heard.
But we gonna get to that in a minute. Because then she said she got pregnant for the 4th time. And she was not going to kill that baby because she thought if she killed that baby that God was gonna kill her.
Now, did she tell him right away, or she waited purposely till she was about 5-6 months and she couldn't have an abortion?
She didn't say that.
We don't know.
We just know she kept that 4th one.
However, she kept that 4th one, and then the family got together and they decided that they need to go and get married. Because remember, nobody knew Derrick Jackson
had a woman
or nor a wife
until he announced the marriage. When he announced that marriage, I remember that back in 2018 because everybody was like, "Who's she? Where'd she come from?" And you married her, not realizing that she was pregnant.
So he could get past the if they found out that he was married. He could get past that. Women like to talk to married. They like to get advice from married men and single men.
Right.
He could have got past that, but he couldn't have got past having kids out of wedlock.
Right.
Being known as a deadbeat dad.
Yes.
That would have ruined his brand. So I don't think Derrick Jackson married her. I don't think he was ever in love with her. I think that he loved her. We did a show called Hotels, where we basically broke down all the different positions that you could be in when you're dealing with a man. And we went from hit it or quit it, one night stand, friends with benefits, homie, lover, friend, the casual relationship, the side piece, the side chick, monogamy, marriage, and then the misters. And we said, don't add nothing to it and don't take nothing away. For example, if you the homie, lover, friend, and you just gave him something last night and you go out tonight to the concert and you see that he's with somebody else, you don't step to him. You don't address it. You act like you did not see it because you're not his woman. You are the homie, lover, friend. You play your role to the T. So I'm telling you, ladies, that you have to know the role that you're playing. Position. And when you know your position, you play it to the T. Once you find out you can't play the role, you got to get gone. And I believe Da'naia Jackson was friends with benefits because he kept her there because she was smart.
Yep.
And he had a brand. Yep. And he needed her intelligence to help him do a lot of the things that the other bras
couldn't do.
Yep.
Because she said that she was she was doing the work behind the scenes.
Right.
She was scheduling tours. She was scheduling his trips. She was setting up the stuff. She was helping him with the book. Like, she was doing all that. So, and then while still sharing him. And I think every time they kind of got into a place where they would break up, I think she would get pregnant. That was her way to kind of come back. Loves kids. I see how he's that. So I'll just keep having a baby every time he talks about, because he probably was like, I want out. I don't want this. You know, I'm doing this because I want out. They can't hear us again, LaRon. Can you guys hear us now? Can y'all say yes or no?
What is going on? Can you hear us?
Can you guys hear us? If you can hear us, say give a
push
yes.
One.
Say yes or no. Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Chris.
thank you, Chris.
Okay.
I think that she. I think he's always been straightforward with telling her what it is, but she just didn't want to
believe it.
Yeah, she didn't want to let it go. So, and then especially when she said she saw how he was his position was skyrocketing, like more and more people. He was getting millions of views just to sit in his car and have a conversation. You know, so she didn't want to go anywhere. So she's like, I'll just get pregnant. You know, so.
I think he married her for the sake of protecting his brand.
His brand. Mhm.
Yes.
His,
He could not afford that. He needed them super chats. He needed those donations. He needed those books to sell. He needed those seminars to be full. And he just wouldn't have had her married her because she said at the honeymoon, he was on the phone talking to bras. See, I couldn't have married Derrick Jackson. I don't care how bad my heart was pounding and my vagina was pounding for him. I could not have married him in the 9 years that he consistently cheated on me because he showed you who he was.
Exactly. Long time
And
ago.
he was not going to change. So either you was going to be a G.
I agree, Will.
Oh. Either she was going to be a G and ride with it. Because here's my thing. It wasn't a problem when she was in that 9,000 square foot house. It wasn't a problem when she was driving the Range. She said they had a Lamborghini. It wasn't a problem when Da'naia was in Dubai, when she was in Thailand, when she was taking all these lavish trips and going on these vacations. It wasn't a freaking problem.
Till she was exposed.
So you can't play victim when you feel like it. Either you gonna ride with it or not. So they had a 9,000 square foot house and he had to go get a condo. Because he said that he needed the condo to record. And so then that's when she started being in rotation. Well, no, that's not when she started. Because she said that she would go to the condo and he didn't want to do nothing with her. He wanted to do it with the other women, you know. But she said as she was going up, somebody was coming out.
That was before marriage.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Wherever it was.
That was before the marriage.
When she was in rotation, she was going in and they was coming out.
Yeah.
Could you have done that?
Bottom line, we teach people how to treat us by what we allow. And she allowed this early on, and he continued with it. He got away with it, and what dude wouldn't?
And as far as Will saying that he wasn't being honest,
No, not honest. He said he don't think he was really seeing her.
Oh.
And I said, because I agree.
He said he doesn't think he was being honest with her either.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and let's unpack that. Because here's the thing. He didn't know that she knew.
Yeah. He didn't find out. He didn't remember, because that's something too. She didn't let him know about the videos and seeing all that stuff until they went to their first and only session, couples counseling, right before they got married. Right before they got married, because she was like, let's go to couples counseling. She goes, and that's when she lets all that out. Like, yeah, I knew you were cheating. I knew you were with other women. I seen the videos and all this. And he was like, how long you been sitting on this? And she was like, I've always knew. And after that session, he never went back. He was like, I'm not going back. I'm not doing that.
So that's what I'm saying. He could not fix nothing that he didn't know about. So all these women and all these people talk about, oh, he was dogging her and he was doing this.
He
was
slick with that shit.
But he didn't know that she knew. And here's my thing. Had she said something, maybe the outcome would have been different.
Had she said something, he probably would have just nipped her stalking ass out the equation.
Maybe,
prior to.
But I'm saying
was it salvageable?
Hold on. Had she said something, he might have been like, had an aha moment. Well, shit. Because she had to be acting bipolar.
Had to be.
She was terrorizing that nigga.
Yes.
With all the stuff that she was holding in upside. She was rolling her eyes at him. She was short. She had temper tantrums. She was talking shit. She said her mouth was bad.
Yep.
So all this shit that he's experiencing with her was stemming from the fact that he was cheating with multiple women. And he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't fix it. So he probably like, this bitch crazy than a motherfucker. She bipolar. What's wrong with her? She had a bad day every day. Remember one time she said she used to sit in the closet and cry in the closet and wait for him to come home. Girl, shit. If I come home and my dude and I come home and I be like, baby, where you at? And I hear and I go in that closet, something better be wrong.
Okay.
See, she was calculating, she was plotting, she was manipulative, she was playing all kind of little games.
She was losing.
We didn't even talk about how she said she was trying to get her friend Fabian to play like, you know, they were relationship
for a whole year.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said she was a stalker because I think when she went to that other party, 3 weeks prior to meeting him, she was stalking the other ex because she gives off that impression that she stalks the exes when they don't want nothing to do with her. Derrick didn't want nothing to do with her. And she just kept, for a whole year, she's like, I would go where he's at. I would have a car that I know everybody liked and be over there with Fabian, the guy that passed away, and pretend like we were together and Fabian was with it. You know, he would go along with the plan. And we did this for a year. And I'm like, and that man was still with other women and you still trying?
And he still didn't care.
I can't blame that man for what's going on because he's been showing you the whole time like you're not enough. You're not
You're
it.
not the one.
You're not the one. And you still kept trying to put yourself in that position. And he's like, no. And now you pregnant and he's just like, all right, fine. Okay. All right. I'll marry you. I'll ask your mom for your hands in marriage because I don't want our kid to be in one state while I'm in the other state. That's one thing. And then two, I think it's because he knew business wise, that's a good ass business partner because she was smart. She was the one sitting there putting stuff out there.
Yes.
So I need her. So okay. And she's like she said, you acknowledge me, acknowledge who I am. I acknowledge I married you. Yeah, I got married. And then what? Like a week later, that shit disappeared. Wow. That shit disappeared off his page, and nobody knew until 2021. Where
And he's getting new followers every
Yeah.
day. And so now,
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew.
They like, oh, when did you get married? Back in 2018. Because I remember, I was like, oh, okay. And then when you went to his page, it's like, where'd that wedding thing go? Where'd the wedding video?
It's gone.
And you go to her page, because this is when we was snooping back in 2021. When that stuff first was happening, we was like, you go to her page, she would be adding him, she would be tagging him. No response.
Never responded.
No response.
He never pushed.
So
like.
no one would believe that she was his wife
That
because
he
never
connected.
Yeah.
No. Even right now, if you go on there, and because like I said, we went with a fine tooth comb. After the scandal happened, he pushed a couple of likes on the. He wasn't fooling with her.
He wasn't doing that before.
He wasn't doing that. He was not doing that.
So she just looked like a fan.
Yeah, and then the interviewer asked her, you know, what did he like about you? She said he liked that she was smart. He liked her eyes, and she said the physical attribute. But I don't think that he taught her everything she knew sexually, so she wasn't turning him on. I think she was the girl that he went to when Adrian said, "Nigga, I'm busy."
Yeah.
Adrian said, "I'm out of.
I'm gone."
Nigga,
Yeah.
fuck you. I see you in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
She was always the one that he could call up, and she would say, "Yeah." She did everything. Yeah.
Placeholder.
Absolutely.
Placeholder.
Absolutely. They really didn't have anything in common. She never said what they had in common. They talked on the phone for hours about what, but this is what they had in common. She came from a single mother.
He did too.
He came from a single mother. He's the baby of 5 children. He had abandonment issues with his dad. He said he had to go to Jamaica to, reintroduce himself to his dad. He didn't have any ill will against his father. She had ill will against her father. So they bonded through trauma of not having their fathers in their lives. Yeah. And then, when we're vetting a person, you also have to look out for what we call birthplace. She was the only child.
One. Yeah.
And the firstborn. He was the baby. That's a whole different dynamic that, you might want to look it up. I ain't going into it.
Yes.
But that's a whole different dynamic too. But he never talked about her. She never said he liked the way she cooked. He liked the way she dressed. Yeah. He didn't like shit about her.
He didn't like her.
He didn't. Like I seen those pictures that she would do or videos that she would do right before he announces his divorce, where they was on trips, and the way she dressed and the way she looked, and she's trying to take pictures with him, and she just smiling.
Just seems
and
so
he's
forced.
Like,
forced.
Like,
yeah,
I don't want to be here.
Wow.
I don't want to be here. I'm just here for the kids. That's the look he get. I'm just here for the kids.
Damn.
She really was from a white town. She don't have no rhythm. She's not sexy. Remember, she said she was a tomboy. So there was a time when she said that she stole the babies. She ran off with the babies. Went to mama's house. And she called him. And the phone was cut off. But nobody questioned why the phone was cut off. And he did. He said, why do you think the phone was cut off? And she said, because of financial issues. And so when you think about Derrick Jackson and you think of all the millions of views and followers and seminars and things that he went to, you thought that he would be a high value man.
Exactly.
But in actuality, Nisha Williams, we found out a little something about Derrick Jackson and his finances.
Ooh.
I think it's from a YouTuber by her name is it Legal Girl?
Yeah, is that legal?
Is that Legal Girl? She did a background check on Derrick Jackson, and what did they find out? They were having
books?
They were having financial issues.
They were having financial issues.
Okay.
Like the house that they were living in was rented. The vehicle they were driving was leased. So when she said that those phones was cut off, it was because they was having financial difficulties. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She also found a lien that he owes. I think it was American Express, like $35,000, and yeah, they were. She said she didn't know anything about the finances, so she was getting a little allowance, and she didn't know anything. Could you be with a husband and not know anything about the finances?
No.
I want to know it all.
You got to give me a ballpark
please.
figure.
Exactly.
I need to know what's going on because I connected myself to you.
Exactly.
You are my lifeline. I need to know where things are.
Yeah, you're going to be able to keep a
I
roof
need to
over
know-
our head. Yeah.
I need to know what's going on because if something happens to you, I need to know how to get to those resources. And he was probably just giving her a little allowance. I want to talk about the house, and I want to tell you how crazy she probably was. They had 9,000 square feet. Could you imagine how big that was? And he said he needed to buy a condo to be able to record, or he felt more comfortable being in his car. If a man cannot find peace in 900 square feet of a home.
Thousands.
No, yeah.
9,000. See, I'm getting emotional.
Okay.
9,000 square feet. He can't find peace in nowhere in that house. She wasn't nothing nice. He did not want to be in there with her to the point where he went and got him a condo. He was trying to get him some rest. Because there was some place in that house that he should have been able. Did you see the house? Did you see the backyard, the big ass pool and shit that they had? He couldn't find no peace there. Come on, man.
Well, I mean, again, you got to remember that he was also hooking up with other women at the other place. So
True. That
he
was his
can't
little
hook up.
spot.
He can't
His
hook
little
up with
spot.
them at the house with her there.
True,
He
but
had
she
to-
said he was never there.
Yeah, I know.
The
'cause
maid and the people,
the workers,
they were
was
there more than him.
'Cause
But
he was-
I'm saying,
He was single.
at some point in time, if you putting it on, here's my thing.
He was single.
Hold on. If you reconcile with your man, if you say, I forgive you for all your past transgressions, you can't hold that against him. You gotta, love on him. Appreciate him. I don't think she was doing that. I think she was so consumed with everything
that
of the
happened.
past
Yes.
and the present
Yes.
that she wasn't treating him right. She wasn't loving on him. And it's the truth because it was one point where the reason why he asked for the divorce. She might have been giving him a little fellatio, but she was not letting him penetrate. And he asked her, I think, did she love him? And she said, yeah, but she still was not ready to be his wife. She still was holding resentment. And that's when you know it's time to go.
It's done.
Because either you going to
It's
say,
done.
I wiped the slate clean and we're going to start all over, or you got to go.
And that's a hard place to be, let's be honest. You know what I mean? That's why for some people, cheating is a straight deal breaker. I can't get over it. I'm going to cheat on you, and it's just going to be going back. It just ain't good. I'm going to forever feel like, I remember I had a Honda Accord. That when a Honda Accord got broke into and I saw somebody's footprint, it never felt the same when I was driving in it. That's how I feel about cheating, because you violated. You let something get into my space. And for some people, that's a done deal. One-time infraction, I'm done.
So, back to speaking on their financial difficulties. Will said it's all smoke and mirrors, and I agree. LaRon said living a fake lifestyle. I said, yep. They were.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
yeah.
They were
Fake
faking
till you
it till you make it. And then Sheep Stay Sleep said So he couldn't pay the phone bill. He couldn't. She announced it in that part 1. She said the phones was cut off when she had left to Colorado because they was going through financial difficulties. Wow. And I mean, as you know, Sheep Say Sleep, and a lot of people that's on these YouTuber handles, you see a lot of people on here on these channels faking it like they have all these funds. And they really don't. They struggling. You know what I mean? Like they be, look at my brand new car. Look at this watch. Look at these clothes. And then you find out later,
And they water
all
cut
that
off.
shit.
Yeah.
They water cut off.
Can't flush the toilet.
They light candles because
They ain't got no
Right.
Like they faking it till they make it. And so it's like when I saw that, I was like, oh, he didn't really have it. And fast forward, can we touch on when they got back together from Colorado?
Yes, go ahead.
So when they got back together from Colorado, because prior to her moving to Colorado with the kids and them separating, they was living in Atlanta. And then after he, begged her to come back and all this stuff, he moved her to Texas. And when you start to do your research and look at it, how family law is set up and divorce is set up in Texas, it's a whole different ball game.
She should have stayed in Atlanta.
She should have stayed in Atlanta or Colorado or
Came
moved to
to
Cali.
Okay.
But she went back with him and they moved to Texas. So by the time they moved to Texas, he was renting, not owning the house that they were staying in or the mansion that they was living in. He was leasing, not buying or owning vehicles that they had. They were struggling. And so now that he's filed for divorce and whatnot, and remember when Laterra asked her, like, who filed for divorce? And she said, he did. And he said, well, what was the reason for the divorce? And she said irreconcilable differences. And then she said, but I countersued. I filed too. And he said, for what? And she said, for infidelity. Wow. Because when you're in Texas and you live in Texas, you have to be married for more than 7 years to qualify for spousal support. Well, they were only married for 5. So she don't get that. And then when it comes to child support, there is a cap in Texas when it comes to child support. So Derrick could be a whole ass millionaire, right? He could be a millionaire, but she won't get a lot of that money for child support. The most she could get is like $2,500, right? For all 3 kids. Not each kid, but for all, because there is a cap that they could charge in Texas. Wow. So Derrick, I don't know who in his ear.
Running game.
But he was pretty smart when he begged her to come back and moved her ass to Texas and stayed there for a year and a half before finally saying, I'm done. I want out.
Hold up. You said he knew what he was doing. He didn't know what he was doing. And maybe he did. But she suggested that we get out of Atlanta because Derrick got hoes. But she forgot Derrick got hoes in area codes. Okay. So it don't matter where he go. His dick still work. What you gonna do? He got to stop himself. You can't stop him from moving from one place to another. She suggested. And I can't remember who was in Dallas and who was in Houston. One of them was in 2 other places. And they ended up where he was. So maybe that's where he got her at. But she put her fucking foot in her mouth.
Yep. And then and as I said, when I was listening to her interviews, I said she just told on herself. Because, most of the women that brag about that lifestyle, they don't work. Right. They claim that all they know is to take care of the kids. They don't have anything. Well, she bragged. I'm smart. I'm a 4.0. I just got my credentials in theology. And now I'm going to come out with this new program to help people with books and help people with infidelity. I'm going to help these courses, right? So you just told the judge
that you can work.
That you can work. That you can work.
You big dummy. You put your own foot in your mouth.
So you saying infidelity and all that means nothing. It means nothing because you're more than likely you're not even going to get that. They're going to go with his original file. And when they go with his original file for irreconcilable differences, the only thing he's going to be responsible for is the kids.
But see, had she been smarter, she would have got him when he had the money.
Yes.
If there was a lot of money, if those millions of views had turned into money, she should have got him then. Hold up. Would you have married Derrick Jackson? There was a point in the interview where she said they went to therapy and they had to do something called the undercover or uncover. And
That was when they got back from Colorado.
okay.
Yeah.
And he said that he was with 100
She only knew of 11.
women.
Yeah.
I ain't even got to that part yet. Could you have stayed with that man once he disclosed that he had been with 100 women? Was this before they got married? No, that he didn't.
No, during the marriage, total.
No, I'm saying,
Yeah.
because they went to therapy. Did he disclose? Because they said it was the uncovering. What were they married then? Their second time at therapy or their first time at therapy?
He told her about the 100 women when they got back together in 2020.
Before they got married.
No, after
They
married.
got
After
okay.
married.
got
When
it.
he told her this when she came back from Colorado and said, "Here are my list of
'cause she had
things
her list of
that you
demands.
need to do."
Okay.
So he told her that.
Could you have stayed married to that man and he said he slept with 100 women?
Hell no.
Now, I don't know when the
Hell no.
100 women occurred, but if you just divide that
I
by
don't-
13
yeah,
years,
that's
that nigga
too
was
much.
sleeping with like 7 women a year. But still, that wasn't enough for Da'naia Jackson to leave him. She didn't give a damn about the money. She didn't give a damn about the materialism. She didn't give a damn about that house because I'm not leaving a 9,000 square foot house. Nigga, do your goddamn thing.
Okay.
I don't give a
Exactly.
fuck.
Exactly.
Because I got some girlfriends that said they have never been they always been the side chick.
Right.
They was trying to be the best side chick they could be. They didn't give a damn. Pay my bills. Give me
Yes.
the lifestyle. I ain't gonna come and blow up the spot. I'm not gonna take no sneaky pictures. I'm not gonna gather no information for later. We gonna roll with it. If some way you get busted or we got to break out,
Okay.
I didn't save the stacked enough money that I don't have to go back to work quickly, but I got enough. And then I'm gonna have to go get my ass a job. I'm gonna have to go get me a new nigga. See, she was too dumb. She was so consumed with the dick that she didn't know whatever he gave her, she's supposed to put that money to the side because the end was coming.
At some
And
point,
she-
you got to be smart.
She was going to stay with him after she knew that he had been with 100 women. She was never going to leave Derrick Jackson. That's why I'm saying you can't play victim. You love that shit. You was in that shit. You signed up for that shit. You married that shit. You had babies for that shit. She was crazy as a god. She's crazy.
Oh, without
She's
a doubt.
fucking crazy.
Without a doubt. She need help.
She was not going to leave him. He filed for a divorce. He said, I'm done. He said, I can't go on. I can't try no more. I'm the fuck up out of here. And she said, okay. She never was going to leave that man. She has
Obsessed.
problems.
Obsessed.
She's the issue. And those babies weren't safe. And that's probably why he had some maids up in there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. That's probably why he has some help. Yeah. Because I feel bad for the daughter, the one that looks literally just like him. Because like she said in that interview, when I look at her, I think of all the women that he slept with that are dark skinned and whatnot. And I'm like, this is the closest thing to... you know, a woman that he would love is like his daughter because she's dark skinned and she looks like the women that he would cheat on with. And I was like, who looks at their baby like that? But she does. And I feel for her. I
She's
feel for that baby.
disturbed.
The
So
other
sad.
babies I think are okay. Right, because they don't look like him.
Yeah,
they
she
look
got
like,
little
they
pictures
look
of
like her.
She got pictures
But
of the little bright
the
ones.
Right.
oldest baby, she looks like Derrick. She skin tone and all. She's Derrick's face. Although she hides their faces now. But I remember before she got a little popular, she was showing their faces, and then she started hiding them or
Putting
whatnot.
the
But
emojis over the top of them.
but that oldest baby, I feel for her because I feel like she's probably gonna get the brunt of the hate, because of the experience with Derrick, because she got Derrick whole face, his whole face. So when she look at that baby, it's like resentment. I hate you.
Jealousy. You look just like your goddamn
You look
cheap
just like
ass
your daddy.
daddy.
Yeah.
But that goes to show you how sick she is. She's
Yeah.
projecting something that doesn't have anything to do with her daughter on her daughter.
Yeah.
Like those other women had that daughter, and she's the stepmom. She has totally.
She switched. Yeah.
Yeah.
She switched when it came to that daughter.
And he need to be concerned about that. He really do.
But her interview might help him.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna show a side of her
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fucked up,
Yeah. Yeah.
Little conniving,
devious,
It's
disturbing.
it's so much to unpack. What did we miss? Anything else?
I think we covered a lot, you know.
I would have liked to know, and I think he missed out on this opportunity. What did she learn? He didn't ask her what she learned.
She learned how to make some money.
No.
She learned how to create some courses like her husband. She learned how to write a book. She learned how to profit off
and
of
I'm
her
sure
own people.
done reached out to her.
Them courses, I wish I would.
Okay.
I don't recommend that y'all
Especially
go to
if
any
you know
of her
history.
her little courses. If you go to her courses, you're saying that you're damaged. I know every woman might have a similar Da'naia Jackson story, but if you have the story, if you can relate that much, you don't need Da'naia Jackson because she needs the couch and you need the couch as well. I wouldn't buy a damn thing from her ass. No, she's not ready. It's only been like 2 years, and she's not ready because she's not ready because she did a video of her having a nervous breakdown.
Yeah,
The heifer really need to be an actress because she good. She good. Who does a video crashing the wedding picture into the couch and sliding down the wall? I'm going down. Crying. She's cuckoo. No, I'm sorry.
No, don't
I
call
want.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
sorry.
call her.
You know me. I'm retarded. I say
No.
anything.
No,
but,
don't say retarded either.
Lord Jesus.
I said I'm retarded. No. Goddammit. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. She has problems. She has issues. She needs some help. And remember too that she said that she was postpartum for those first 2 babies.
Wow.
And she was under medication. So she was thinking a whole lot of things in her mind, and Derrick couldn't help her. He didn't know what was going on. She was having hormonal problems after
the abortions,
the abortions,
babies, the
STD traumas. Man.
Hold on, because Chris keeps messaging. So he said he has a question for the panel. Have you ladies ever came across a Derrick Jackson type man before? And if you have, did you come close to giving in to his charm? You want to answer that, Adrian?
I'll answer first.
Okay.
Okay. Of course, I've met some charming men, but I want to tell you about a coworker of mine. He was a very handsome barber that worked at my salon. The ladies were stopping and dropping. The ladies were bringing all their kids, their cousins, and anybody, so they can just be in his presence. He used to charge women $25 an hour to talk. And I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I saw. He said, check this out, Mo. She wanted to talk. He called her up and, what's up? Oh, I need to talk to you. He was like, I need $25 an hour. And I rode with him and I seen him do it. Every week, this brother had water, the 24-pack, the 36-pack of water, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, garbage bags full of clothes, garbage bags full of shoes. They brought him books. They brought him DVDs just to be able to say that they knew him and that he was in, or they were in his presence. He got his car keyed. He got his house spray painted. Oh, he was that nigga. They said he was charming. Yeah, he was fine. Everybody, the stylist said he could get it.
Okay.
So yes, there are some charming men. I would say when I was 21 years old, my first love was very charming. My first love, got to tell the truth. I was stigmatized. He could do no wrong. We all as women, we do fall for that because most of the time women don't have the correct gauge of what love really is.
True.
How a man is supposed to treat you, how far you're supposed to go with a man, how much you allow for a man to do to you. So yeah, like I said, we all have a similar Da'naia Jackson story when it's good. He look good, he smell good, he do it good, and we do some things that we are not supposed to.
Right.
Give out money, let them use a car, let them kick it in a house. We all do those things as young ladies, especially if we don't have great family backing that discloses this, because you have to understand most African American people, they don't talk to our children. We don't talk to our children about sex and relationships and when you're supposed to give it up and why you're supposed to give it up and how you're supposed to give it up and how you're supposed to put it down. What, mama? Could you tell me how to freak this man? You on punishment, and what are you talking about freaking for? And who is this little boy? Right. So yeah, I think we all, as women, if we're honest, we have to be. Have been vulnerable to a player. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Your turn.
Yeah. Yeah, you can, and you get easily caught up in it, and you swear up and down, I ain't never gonna fall for this, that, and another. And then before you know it, like you said, you meet these guys that are super charming. They have a way with words. Their words are syrupy sweet, and you just get caught up. And before you know it, you doing stuff that you never, ever thought that you would do. And then reality kicks in, especially if it has anything to do with your living arrangements or your funds or anything like that. For most of us that are halfway healthy, that's when it clicks. Okay, this motherfucker trying to play me. You got the wrong motherfucker. So then you have to turn some shit around.
Because there's a thin line between supporting your man and being used by a man. And I don't care what these modern day girls say. Every woman wants a man, a good man, a man that loves them, admires them, cherishes them, thinks they're beautiful, thinks they're sexy, desirable. Every woman wants that. But when you've been knocked down, when you've been, cheated on, manipulated, abused, you get scared. You say, I ain't gonna give my heart to nobody. I can't go no more. The next nigga that do A, B, C, D, F, G, he's getting it. And I think that goes for both men and women.
Exactly.
Nisha Williams.
I have. I've had, I won't say he was like super Derrick Jackson, but I have been, gullible to a man. But it wasn't based on looks though. It was just based on how I was treated. So I'll go back to like what we've all been saying. When you don't really tackle that trauma that takes place from your childhood, once you hit adulthood, it's like it magnetizes like a billion, and it becomes real easy for you to accept like minimum treatment from somebody because you think this is the best you can get in your mind, right? I wasn't on no Da'naia type level where in my mind, this is what it means versus what he's saying. But I was that one that was, I guess the backup, right? Like I was the smart one. I was the brains. I was helping, them get to where they needed to be. Oh, you don't have this? Okay, let me have the application for you. You don't have this? Let me tell you what they're going to ask you. Oh, you don't have the card? Take my card. Oh, you don't have the, you know what? I got the money. Like I was that one that did that until I realized, why the fuck am I doing that? This is dumb. Like, what's wrong with me? Yes. And I had best friends at the time that literally was trying to
tell you,
wake up, snap out of it. But I was like, nah, he good. Like he's nice. He's good to me. He does it, but no, he wasn't. So yeah, I've had a Derrick Jackson type situation, but it didn't go as far as the Da'naia situation thing did. There's no way I'm trying to share a man with anybody, like at all. Never have, never will. So if you cheat, we're done. There's no coming back from that. For me, so
DS1 said, "Don't shoot Adrian." and I want you guys to think about one thing. She never said Derrick physically abused her. She never said Derrick mentally abused her. Right. She never said that.
Never. Yeah. She was a participant in that bullshit.
Yes.
She knew Derrick Jackson was lying to millions of women.
She was a participant.
She was an enabler. She was a co-conspirator. She was helping him do that. And
She was hurting her own feelings.
Because she was getting the materialistic benefits from it.
Right.
So you can't engage and then call yourself a victim. I can't let you do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God, we have been talking our asses off today.
Yeah, final thoughts. Okay. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts, Adrian.
Hey, goodness. You know, I felt sorry for her in the beginning, and the deeper and more that you guys shared, because I know you guys dissected that whole thing. Woo! I have been enlightened today on her situation, and I was feeling really, really sorry for this girl. I really was, and I still do to a certain extent because something.
Because not to cut you off, but that's why it was important for us to go deep into it. Because, like you said, millions. Those 2 videos have over 1 million views right now. Wow. And millions of women were sitting. Had we not knew the backstory, you're like, oh my God.
I know, that's how I was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
So mad at him.
Yeah.
Like this motherfucker. But she allowed it. And it's, you know, not that he's still wrong.
Right.
You know, I'm not giving him a pass.
Player.
Okay, player. But I'm not giving him a pass. But what I will say is that she was a participant in that bullshit. And she can't play the victim. She can't, yes, he did her wrong, but you allowed it. You knew years before you got to number 9 that this man was playing you, hurting you, manipulating you, just being a dog. And we can say, learn from the red flags, because the red flags was there. I mean, they was slapping her all up in the face and everything. Mm-hmm. But when you love a person or whatever your trauma is that keeps you where you're stuck, because she was stagnant. She was not moving. She was not going to let that man go. Something in her trauma, that abandonment, wherever that's coming from, had her stuck. And so my closing statement to ladies out there, love yourself. Self-love is the best love. And I think when we love ourselves, we make better decisions in who we keep in our lives, you know. And that's easier said than done. But sometimes, you know, he may scratch an itch or he may put it down, whatever the case may be. And we ain't even thinking logically no more. Them kids, what kids? You know what I'm saying? You ain't even thinking right no more. So just be mindful that we all have made some bad decisions when it comes to relationships and men. But be smart. Protect your heart. Protect your mind. Protect your paper. That's it.
I would just say, when it comes to relationships, it consists of two people in it, right? I'm not speaking on poly. I don't know all that. I'm just
Why
speaking
you
on.
all looking at me?
No. I'm just saying. I'm not speaking on that. I'm speaking on monogamy, right? Both of you have to want it to make it work. And when an individual is showing you, before you even get into a marriage, that he doesn't want you, cut your losses. And if you know that you've experienced some trauma from your childhood that you haven't tackled, I strongly encourage that you get some therapy to kind of work through that trauma. No one is going to be 100% healed from trauma, but what it can do is help you to deal more with your triggers and to exist in this world from a healthy perspective. Please don't spend no $5,000 and $7,000 on a course from a social media therapist, as opposed to a real therapist where it'll literally you can save a lot of money by just using your insurance and it'll cover. And they can help you with the trauma and help you get through it. Don't use the opposite sex to help you heal as far as from a sexual perspective or just hopping in a relationship, because it's not up to that person to fix you or heal you. I think she was leaning to Derrick because he was it could have been more like a savior complex. Like, you got this jock, this attractive man, this famous, this popular man on campus giving you, the nobody, a little bit of attention, and she didn't want to let that go because the attention she craved from her childhood she never got. I think that we need to stop believing what we see on these social media platforms where people are bragging about having these so-called mansions, expensive cars, expensive watches, banging the baddest women and men and etc. whatever, because a lot of times it's just for show. It's not real. They just on the same level as regular people. They're just faking it, and it's giving you the impression that this is what you need to aspire to, but you never know that they could be at home miserable, just like they are, just like that couple was, and a lot of these other social media couples. I think that when you start to hear stories more and more like Da'naia's and whatnot, look at the whole story. Don't just look at it from one side, because a lot of people was like, fuck Derrick after they saw her 2 interviews. And it was just like, well, wait a minute. Did you hear what she said? Did you listen to what she was talking about? Because she's telling you she was a part of it too. She was part of the program too. She got with it too. So I can't fault him for doing what he was doing when she been cool with it from day one. Day one, prior to marriage, after marriage, after the separation, back when they got back together, she was a part of it and okay with it, and had no intentions of leaving that man last year before he announced that he was filing for divorce. Right. She was willing to still stay there while he was doing what he was doing. So pay attention to who you listen to. And that's my final thought.
So before I get my final thought, Mr. Chris asked a question. So what's the worst of the 2 evils here? Derrick Jackson's cheating, or number 2, Da'naia being a willing fool for Derrick?
They're both evil.
Yeah.
I can't separate the two. They're both evil. And I'm speaking on from the marriage perspective, not from the singles perspective. Once you enter the marriage, it's supposed to be just you two. Yeah, exactly. It's not supposed to be you two and 100 other bitches.
Unless you
why they gotta be bitches?
I'm sorry. 100 other women. 100 other women.
You're channeling the Da'naia Jackson spirit.
Comparison. And he was, but I mean, he is sharing her even in the marriage with other multiple women. Like to me, that's bad. And it's bad on her part because she was willing to stay and just take it. Yes. Knowing that she was miserable, knowing she wasn't going to be intimate with him, knowing that she was, faking it till she make it on her page, knowing that he was lying to women out in the world with his messages while he was sitting there doing the opposite of what he was preaching. Like, both of them are evil, in my opinion.
And I can't wait till we see how he deals with the kids. What they gonna say when all this comes out? You know what I'm saying?
And initially I told Nisha I would have never told this story because of the babies. What's the worst of the 2 evils for me? Derrick Jackson was single.
That's
so
how
was
he
actually
his life.
He actually cheating? He was single. Da'naia being a whole fool for Derrick. If I had to pick one of the other, I would have to pick Da'naia being a whole fool because Derrick showed her who she was, and if you cannot accept who that man is at this moment, you need to get on. So I'm gonna have to pick Da'naia for the win. I need to know how much candy I'm gonna get. I like chocolate, Mr. Chris. Final thought, because we are running out of time. I'm going to say that this is a cautionary tale for women not to do. And we have to be very careful that when we are on the outside looking in, to never become jealous of what another woman seems to have. Like Nisha said, you never know what she has to go through to be in those positions, to have the wedding ring, the fancy cars, the trips, the shopping sprees, etc. You never know the internal pain that a woman is going through to keep up the facade that everything is okay, everything is beautiful, this man loves me, I'm in a healthy relationship. My problem with the Da'naia was she was trying to play made the best woman win. And at that time, Derrick Jackson was single. There was no best woman for him. He was just playing the field. I got notes. At some point in your life, you have to ask yourself, is sex all he wants from me? What do you want for yourself? What did he give you that made you better? He didn't give her anything that made her better. Love is reciprocity. The tit for tat, the going back and forth. I love you, I want you to be happy, I want you to be happy. And she didn't get all of that because she was chasing something in her brain. And there was a disconnect that she was trying to connect that never happened. Don't be a Da'naia Jackson. Like Nisha said, I wouldn't recommend you spending thousands of dollars to be in any of her courses. Use that money productively and go seek out a real licensed, certified therapist. And now that I'm thinking about certifications, Da'naia Jackson was actually a certified pre-owned vehicle that he drove for a little bit and took it back to the lot and went out and got him some new models. Like, share, subscribe, push that notification bell so that you know every time we drop some new content. Thank you, everybody in the chat room, for joining us. You could have been somewhere else. If you have any questions, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss, let us know. BGP. Until the next episode, stop dropping your drawers, keep them clean, and we out.
Warning, you are about to enter the BGP suite. No thongs, no boy shorts, no thigh highs, no commandos are permissible. BGP, big girl panties only. So pull up to woman up.